So what's the one thing that truly defines a great warehouse? You might think it's speed or maybe cost per unit, but honestly, you'd be wrong. Today, we're going to break down the one metric that, if you get it wrong, makes everything else you do, well, pretty much pointless.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Think about it. You can have robots, AI, the most amazing, streamlined operation on the planet. But if that package shows up on someone's doorstep and it's the wrong item, or it's late, or it's busted, all that incredible efficiency, it just evaporates. It means nothing.
So stick with me for the next few minutes because we're not just here to point out the problem. Nope. We are going to lay out a real, actionable plan, a toolkit you can literally start using today to get a handle on this and start winning.
All right, let's just get right into it and challenge how we usually think about this. You know, most warehouses are completely obsessed with their internal numbers. But here's the thing. The real scorecard isn't inside your building. It's out there with your customer.
And this slide really shows the massive gap in perspective, right? On one side, you've got our world. Costs, productivity, efficiency. And look, those things are absolutely important, don't get me wrong. But let's be real for a second. Your customer, they could not care less about your pick rates. Their entire universe boils down to three simple things. Did I get the right stuff? Did it show up on time? And is it in perfect shape? That's it. That's the whole game for them.
And wow, the stakes here are just massive. I mean, think of all the work, all the meetings, all the effort that goes into shaving a few cents off your operating costs. A single return, just one customer who says, "I'm done," can wipe all that hard work right off the books, instantly. This is so much bigger than just trying to dodge a few angry emails. We're talking about your bottom line, your brand's reputation. And when you nail this, you're not just putting out fires. You're building a fortress, a loyal customer base that your competition just can't break into.
Okay, so these big service failures, they don't just magically appear, right? They're almost always the last domino to fall in a long chain reaction. And that chain reaction starts way, way back, deep inside your own four walls. So, let's follow the breadcrumbs.
And you can almost see it happening in slow motion, can't you? It starts with something quiet, like not really measuring the right things. You're not tracking it, so you don't manage it. Then, small stuff, like a mispick here or there, just flies under the radar. Then, the pressure's on to get orders out the door, so people start taking shortcuts when they're packing. And because nobody's really held accountable for that little mistake, it's never fixed. It just happens again and again. Until, boom, that tiny little internal issue has just exploded into a very, very loud customer complaint landing right on your desk.
So the big question is, how do we stop this chain reaction before it even starts? Well, the first step is simple. You have to turn the lights on. You have to make the problem visible. We've got to stop thinking we're doing a good job and start knowing it with cold, hard data.
You've probably heard this a million times, but it's a cliché for a reason. You just can't improve what you don't measure. Without numbers, you're basically flying blind. And that's exactly where KPIs, key performance indicators, come into play. Seriously, think of them like the dashboard in your car. They tell you your speed, your fuel, if there's a problem. They give you the critical info you need to get where you're going safely.
Okay, let's get super practical then. Here are the four big ones you need to start tracking like yesterday. Order accuracy, on-time dispatch, return rate, and complaint rate. Look, these aren't some crazy, complex metrics, but they are so powerful. Why? Because they give you a crystal clear, totally unbiased view of how you're doing through the only eyes that matter, your customers.
All right, so you've got your numbers. Now it's time to do something about them. We're going to tackle this with a two-part plan. First up, the quick wins. These are the fast, tactical things you can do this week to see a difference right away. And then we'll get into the long-term fixes. This is the heavier lifting, the strategic stuff that really changes your culture for good.
First, let's talk about immediate impact. What can you do right now to stop these errors before they ever even get out the door?
So here it is, your checklist for this week. And some of these are so simple, but they make a massive difference. Take that first one, adding a final QC scan at the packing station. That one little step can catch a ridiculous number of mistakes. Or how about this one, investigating every single complaint within a day? That's huge. You're not just solving one customer's issue, you're sending a signal to your whole team and your customers that you are serious about getting to the root of the problem.
Look, quick wins are awesome. They give you momentum. But let's be honest, they're kind of like Band-Aids if you don't fix the underlying issue. So now, we've got to talk about the long game. How do you make customer first more than just a poster on the wall?
How do you make it something your team actually lives and breathes every day?
This is how you bake it into the DNA of your operation. It starts with making it visible. Put those KPIs up on a big screen where everyone, and I mean everyone, can see them. Every single day. Then you've got to break down the silos. Get your warehouse folks, your sales team, and your customer service reps in the same room, solving problems together. And maybe the most critical piece? You have to connect this to people's performance reviews. Because you know what they say? What gets measured and rewarded gets done.
So what does this customer-focused culture actually feel like in practice? Well, it's when the person picking an order doesn't just see a SKU number on a screen. They actually picture the person who's waiting for that package. It's when the whole team gets just as excited about preventing a mistake as they do about breaking a shipping record. It's a total shift in what you value and what you celebrate.
And that really brings us to the final question you have to ask yourself. And you have to be honest. Is customer focus just a nice-sounding slogan you've got on a poster somewhere in the break room? Or is it a real, living value that shapes the decisions your team makes every hour of every day? Because ultimately, the answer to that question is what will determine whether you win or lose.